Hello again! Welcome to the new show where I, Josh, talk about whatever I want. But don't worry, it normally has to pertain with like entertainment, movies, TV, whatever. Today, I want to talk to you about something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is comic books. Comic books are an adventure. If you're a reader, you know that regular books, that you read that have no pictures, which is kind of boring in my point of view, but that's okay. I read lots of them. If you like literature and you like comic books, you know that there are two forces that have dominated the comic book world since the inception of the comic book. And that is Marvel and DC. And as much of a DC fanboy as I am, and as much as I enjoy Marvel, there are times where I get really tired. I get tired of their stories. And it's not to say that the characters aren't interesting, and it's not to say that their writers aren't good, because you've got some great writers for both companies. However, you just, after a while, can see all of their stuff coming. You see it from a mile away, like in Batman, when the death of Superman, right? When they killed Doomsday, all of us went, okay, it's just a publicity stunt. Right, and when Doomsday kills Superman, and you're like, okay, yeah, that's great, I guess, sure. You're gonna bring him back. It's gonna happen. And guess what happens? They bring him back, right? So you want something that is different and maybe something you haven't seen before. And so today, I bring to you one of my 5 best comic book or graphic novels that I love and in preference to DC and Marvel. Number 5. My first one is probably not as well known as I'd like it to be. It's called Saga. If you know, I've heard of this. It's from Image Publications. They're a great company. I love what they do. The way that they have their writers own their works instead of the company owning the work is great. I love it. It's created by Brian Vaughan and some of his friends, and they do a lot of the art, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful comic book. Now let me ask you this question. Have you ever sat there and been like, you know what? I love Star Wars. And I love Game of Thrones. Man, if only there was some kind of material out there that combined both entities. Well, that's what Saga is. A family that is trying to survive during an intergalactic civil war. And there's turns, and there's twists, and there's other stuff, and it's beautiful to look at, and it's entertaining to read. It's very hard to be able to be like, hey, I know what's gonna happen. Because guess what? $10 says that you don't. And it's a great, great book. Number 4. So my next one is kind of complicated. I wrote it all down because it's complicated. So many of you have heard of a certain movies that have come out in the 90s, and now there was another one a couple of years ago, and now there's going to be another one coming, I think it's this year or next year. It's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And as many of you know, it started as a comic book. And man, is it amazing. It's such a good comic. It takes all of that humor that you love in the show and in the movies, but also it takes it to another level as far as emotion and like darkness, and just stuff goes down. Like, there's a couple times where you're just sitting there going, okay, well, guess we're in for a ride. Not much we can do about it. Stuff's gonna happen. It all started at Mirage with Kevin Eastman and one of his buddies, Peter Laird. Great guys. They knew what they were doing. They wrote it, they drew, they did everything. It's fantastic. But then they had to move. And they bounced from place to place. They were at Image for a while, my favorite place. I think they did DC for a little bit. It just kind of, they bounced around for a bit. Where they finally landed, I shouldn't say finally, because there's always the chance they'll move again, but they're currently right now at Dark Horse. And the new series that is headed up by still Eastman, who does both writing with the help of a couple other guys, the writing and the art, it started a new series in 2011 when the new movies and the new shows started to come out. And so the new series is just as good because you still have Kevin at the helm. You still have great writing, humor, great story. If you think that there's no way that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles could get better than the show, that one in the 80s, really, it can get much better. I promise. I got nothing else to say but praise. Check it out, please. Number 3. Have you guys ever heard of Spawn? Because he's awesome. There was some time that Todd McFarlane, the creator of Spawn, also author of another great comic book series, The Amazing Spider-Man, great. He was using DC to kind of, not as a producer, like a publisher, but as more of a way of getting his comic books out. But now he's over at Image. Starting to see a pattern here. I kind of have a thing for Image. It follows Lieutenant Colonel Albert Simmons, which is kind of strange, but a strange name. But if you consider that the creator is from Canada, it's okay. The name is weird. But he's great at his job. He's a Marine that protects the president. He then thwarts an assassination attempt on the president, and the president's like, "Good job, man. We're gonna promote you to the CIA." And Simmons is like, "All right, sure." And so he gets into the CIA. Stuff happens. He starts going on missions, and he gets into a situation where he dies and gets burned alive in lots of fire, obviously, because that's the only way you can get burned alive. So he and his soul is then sent to hell. He does a deal with this evil being, Melbagia, who says he can bring him back to life. And we're not given the reasons why Simmons is begging this evil entity to bring him back to life. We are never given those details. So, obviously, Melbagia is like, "Yeah, sure, why not? You just do the shit right here." And if we know anything from Ghost Rider, shaking hands with an evil being is never a bad idea, ever. He comes back to life 5 years after his death, and as the entity Spawn. And so that's where we start at Volume 1. I didn't ruin anything. That's kind of like the synopsis there. But the adventure goes on from there for you to try to figure out, why is he Spawn? Why did he make this deal? Spawn's amazing. He's got all of these powers, health regeneration, superhuman everything. He can teleport. He can, there's just so much he can do. He's got control over all these, different elemental powers. It's great. But it's definitely a comic worth checking out. It's evil. It's funny when it needs to be, but it's dark when it needs to be as well. And it's such an entertaining read. Number 2. Next one. I want to, right now, ask for your forgiveness for what I'm about to say. Not because I'm going to say something offensive, but I'm about to butcher some names. I'm just not good. I asked for help from a couple of my friends, and I'll do my best to pronounce everything correctly. I promise. So, if you like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you obviously like animals that wield weapons. My next one does that, but it does it so much better. If you've heard of Asaji hold on, I got this. Asaji Yojimbo, got it. Then you know that animals can do a lot more than just wield weapons. It's awesome. It's created by Stan Sakai, and he created Usagi as someone to reflect a lot of the Edo period Japanese culture. Usagi is a Ronin samurai who is currently on a warrior's pilgrimage where he just kind of travels around ancient Japan, performing different tasks, helping different people, just kind of surviving. But along the way, he gets paid to be a bodyguard and to really provide his services. But through that, there's all these different adventures, and you see stuff from his past and how broken of a past he is. There's humor in it, and it's perfect, and it does a good job of not being like, "Oh, we're funny too." It doesn't do that. It has humor, and it doesn't take you out of it. And when it needs to get dark, and heads need to be sliced from their necks, it happens. And that's great, because that's what needs to happen. Stan doesn't pull any punches. He's like, "Guys, we have a rabbit with a samurai sword, and he's fighting ninjas, and emotions are being had. Love it. And guess what? I do. I love it so much, and I hope that you guys check this one out. Number 1. With this next one, seriously, I found this series when I was like 13, and it has blown my mind apart. Do you guys like The Walking Dead? The comic book, not the TV show. The TV show is good, but the comic book will blow your mind. The same guy that made that prior to The Walking Dead made a series called Invincible. Basically, we come in, and this guy named Omega Man is the world's strongest superhero. He's an alien. Man, that sounds a lot like someone else. Anyway, and he has a beard, and he's really cool looking, and he does all kinds of good stuff for the world, and there's literally nothing that can stop him. There's a key part of this, and I am going to warn you ahead of time. Because this is the same guy who made The Walking Dead, don't sit here and read this as a Superman comic and expect people to stay intact and to, not get dismembered, because that happens. Our main character is Mark Grayson. No, not Nightwing, but Mark Grayson is the son of Omega Man. And we come in and we're wondering, when is he gonna get his powers? Mark's like, man, I'm just some little bum, man. I need my powers. I'm like the son of the most powerful man on Earth, and I don't have any powers. When is this going to happen? And so his dad's like, God, Mark, it's okay. When it happens, it happens. Don't worry about it. And Mark's like, and so later that week, he's at his stupid fast food job, which, if you know fast food, you know how dumb it is and how frustrating it can be. And he's taking out the trash, and he goes to throw the trash bag into the bin, and it flies like 4 miles. First of all, that's impressive, considering what could have been in that bag. Ugh. But so we get him finally getting his powers and learning how to use them. And has a talk with his dad finally about, where do our powers come from? Were you bitten by a radioactive spider? What happened? And the comic book does a very good job of taking all of the themes of superhero comics and jokes and the tropes of it, and goes, yeah, we're doing this because wink, wink. But they do it in a way that you're like, this is fresh. I'm enjoying this. This is cool. So he starts having to talk with his dad. And his dad reveals to him that he is a part of a alien race called the Vultramites. And they, at one point, thousands of years ago, achieved world peace. And so they wanted to share this peace with the rest of the galaxy. And so they were spread out throughout the galaxy. Mark and his dad start working as a tag team, right? Which, if you could both be superheroes, what would you do, right? Go hang out with your dad, beating down criminals? That's awesome. He takes the name Invincible, obviously. Guys, this series is amazing. It takes twists and turns, and it gets dark. And just as you think it can't get any darker, it's like, let me put some spray tan on. We going darker here. People going die up in here. It's great. The humor's on point. The romance is on point. And it hits all the emotional notes you would want. In fact, I would even say this would be a good movie. We need an Invincible movie. Somebody hear me and make this into a movie. I tried. Well, guys, what do you think of my picks? Are there more indie comic books that you guys know of? Put it down in the comments. Let me know. Let me know what you think of my list. If you like what you see, subscribe. And if you want more, find me on Facebook and Twitter at The McNeely Show. And as always, guys, I hope you all have a great day. I'll see you next time.